Welcome to the AAA, also known as the AAA, the podcast where we talk everything AA from alcohol to recovery. I'm your host, Joe Van.
And I'm D. What's up?
And welcome back to another episode. Thanks for coming in.
Hey.
We're happy to have you.
Yeah, hi. How's it going?
So,
It's been a long time.
this is episode, how long has it been? How long do you think? 1 week?
I think a little longer than a week. Maybe
It's been a little longer than a week?
Because it's
Yeah,
been the
true.
holidays. It's
Yeah,
holidays.
yeah, that's true. But they don't know that. That's the fun thing with publishing.
True.
We release it when we want. So as far as the audience is concerned, it doesn't matter how much time has passed.
Yeah.
We can do 2 episodes in one day
They have
and
no
just
idea.
spread it out. Yeah, it's been a week. It's like we'll sit down, stop
Years,
recording, hit
months.
record again, be like, it's been a week, and it's been 1 second for us. But anyway, this is episode 2. So you guys may not have caught it yet, but you will soon figure out that there's a pattern. On episode 2, we're going to talk about step 2 of the AA program. So it isn't necessarily going to limit us because obviously there are only 12 steps and we plan on making more than 12 episodes. But for the time being, on episode 1, we talked about step 1, among other things. Obviously the introductions of the two hosts here.
A little background info.
Yeah, exactly. And now for episode 2, we're obviously going to continue diving more into each other and the subjects that we talk about and how they affect both of us as well as the general concepts of said subjects. But we are going to do things a little different this time around. We're going to be talking about step 2 of the program and also step 3. The two are very closely related. And you might also be thinking step 4 and 5 are as well. But those two are going to get their own separate episodes as we continue, just because they're far more hard hitting. Where these
deep.
ones, yeah,
It's real deep.
it's real deep, and this
Wow.
one is deep as well, but in a different sense. It's more philosophical than step 4 and 5, which are more practical. So, yeah,
Very
that's essentially what this episode's going to be about. But before we get into it, we can talk a bit about the fact that we're living in the future. Is that a
Yeah.
fair assessment to say?
It's crazy. I can't believe it.
Just seeing the numbers 2020, it's
It's
like,
insane. Like, these are the numbers that are like in movies where, like, when we were younger, they're like
the
saying,
apocalypse, yeah, the future, yeah.
2020. It's like, what? 2021 is always like a thing. It's like, that's next year.
Yeah, that's next
Wow.
year. It'll always be
Shocking.
the future at this point now.
Shocked and scared.
Like, I was born in 93, so I'm not even, like, from the 80s or 70s or whatever, and I still think that 2020 is the future. I don't
Yeah.
feel like, oh, yeah, of course this was coming. It's like, no, this feels crazy. I can't believe we're alive right now.
Yeah, it's
We did it. It's the
literally-
future.
It's like history in the making.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I just never thought of, like, I think another one would be like 2050. Doesn't 2050 sound intense?
Yeah, well, that sounds just unbelievable. We
Like,
don't
that
have any
sounds
sci-fi. We have
like
sci-fis
nice.
that are like in the year 2150 or something, but 2050 is just, it's one of those ones that feels untouched. It doesn't feel real.
That doesn't.
It's like
sound
once it comes
real.
here, it comes here, but before then it's just and the funniest thing is it's just numbers. It's completely arbitrary.
They're just numbers. Yeah.
It means nothing. We just started counting one day.
People,
You know?
yeah, like people, for instance, have said that essentially 2019 is like one of the worst years for them. Like,
People
is
have
like
said
a
that?
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is a thing right now where it's like 2019 was brutal for
20
people.
yeah.
It was brutal for me, actually, not gonna lie.
It was brutal for you?
I
Yeah.
did not enjoy 2019, but at the same time, I grew so much. Like, you have to
Mm-hmm.
take those things and grow from them regardless of the year. Like, that's
Yeah.
the thing too. Like, for me specifically, think of it this way.
Yeah.
With like drinking and things like this, no matter what, every day is a resolution for, even like just for people that are no longer drinking anymore. Think of it as, in the sense, every day that we don't drink, we're winning. We add one more trophy onto our shelf. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
Yeah.
really, you set a goal for yourself, because like essentially 2020 is all about now. It's a new year, resolutions, all this stuff, and it's like we all know these resolutions are going to be dropped by March, the latest. But
Yeah, the latest.
not for most people though. Like, not for
Yeah.
all people. Let's say.
Well, yeah,
right?
it's interesting how the whole world seems like it's crashing, yada yada, but that's because only the extreme cases are the ones that are spoken about the most, are the most outspoken. 80%, they usually say, of people are moderate and are not the ones speaking up. It's always the 20%, 10 on each side of the most extreme of whatever scenario, of whatever worldview or personal situation. And that's all people hear. It's the same with the news. It's like w- the only thing that is being put out there is the most extreme thing.
Extreme, most
It's
crazy.
there's not a lot of people just talking about everyday life, how
No.
nothing's happened. It's
Yeah.
like people always say like, "Oh, what's a show about nothing?" Like Seinfeld or something, where it's like nothing happens. It's like you watch the whole thing and you're like, "Okay, I guess
Well,
that was
there was
it."
no climax. There's nothing.
Yeah,
It's
there's
just
nothing. It was just another day in
dead
the life
air,
of.
the whole
Yeah. So it's like for a lot of people, they go, "Oh, that's boring because that's my life. I want whenever I take things in, I want it to be extreme. You know, I want there to be like Mission Possible style events happening on the news or whatever, right? Or drama like on TV, that kind of thing. But most life isn't that. It's most life is just going with the flow, is just a form of harmony in one way or another, not very
Yeah.
eventful,
Yeah.
right? The majority of our time, well, first off, a third of our life we're sleeping. So
Yeah.
that's always fun to
That
take
was
into
one thing.
consideration. Not a lot's going on.
We're sleeping
We just
lots,
lie down
yeah.
for 7, 8
And like
hours.
you want to be able to sleep too. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like lay down and sleep, people. That's the other thing too. Some people aren't sleeping enough. They're doing too much.
Because they're doing way too
Yeah,
much.
that's the thing. Like you mentioned,
Sometimes
like
you just
people
gotta
need to,
relax.
you
Gotta
gotta
do nothing.
relax and like
Just chill.
sleep and chill and like
It's also funny how you bring up how 2019 was bad for a lot of people. I feel like, aside from the fact that it's outspoken people that are usually having the best time or the worst time, uh, the world is constantly growing, whether it's with technological achievement, whether it's with the population size, or whether it's with seemingly world ending conflict. And people now are saying World War III is going to happen in 2020 just because it's an election year and a world leader of a certain country just south of us decided to assassinate somebody and the person retaliated by attacking civilians. Here's all I got to
it's
say.
a lot going on.
A lot's
yeah.
going on, but it's always been going on. It's one of those things, it's like the tide. You know, a child walks onto the beach and sees this big wave crash and he goes, "Oh, that's the biggest thing ever." And then he walks away and then another kid comes over 10 seconds later and sees a big wave and he goes, "Oh, that's the biggest wave like ever." It's it's one of those things where if we didn't have history, we would continue repeating the same mistakes because that the only way to learn is with history. So,
Yeah, and that's why like ultimately you like the
2020 should
younger
be a fresh start.
generation. Yeah, the younger generation should really. I know like sometimes like we're still the younger generation. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
Like
we are.
I
Yeah.
think a lot sometimes we're stubborn to like with drinking again. It's like people there's so much it just really depends on like what your life is and what you want to filter through. So if you feel that you need to sleep more, then you need to sleep more. If you feel like you need to relax more, then relax more. If you feel like you're sleeping too much, then get the hell up and do something.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. It's like we're so focused on a lot of things that are not what we should be focusing on, and that's why we're so behind and
Yeah.
these goals and things aren't getting accomplished and we're not getting to where we want to be. But if you just really focus on yourself and making yourself happy, that's all that really matters, regardless of the year, time, or date, essentially.
Yeah, it's always a situation of you're spiraling in a direction you don't like, or you're not doing anything when you should be doing an action, and yeah, all it takes is a moment of reflection, and we talked about that in episode 1 too. Reflections and
Yeah.
form. But yeah, 2020 I think is going to be, if not a year of conflict, a year of growth.
Yeah.
You can have both things at once, but for people like us, not drinking is the longer you do it, the easier it gets. It doesn't
Yeah.
get more difficult as time
No
goes on.
way,
So
yeah.
I think I have the wrong perspective because I stopped drinking in December of 2018. So 2019 was great for me because it was an entire year. It was my first like full year of just not
yeah.
drinking. So and it was great. So it's like it's like 2019 might have been a terrible year, but I didn't experience that just because I was going through just an entire year of recovery. And then you
Yeah.
just feel better. You feel like you're getting over a cold. Like it is a great feeling knowing
That
you know,
honestly, like for me, I'm going into my third year. 2020 will be going into my third year. And
Yeah.
I'll say for me, the first year was like that because it
Mm-hmm.
was like really you're putting those trophies on the wall for real.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? After that first year, it's like, okay, it's the first year now. It's like, okay, I've done it.
Yeah.
That's when it starts to become like a lifestyle now.
Yeah.
I think the first year is like like that goal being set, and then the second year for me was like, which would be 2019. For
Yeah.
me, was really just accepting and learning how to now cope and deal with not drinking and like doing things regularly. Just
And still doing stuff you
Yeah.
love, but in the context of not drinking. Yeah, yeah. Because yeah, that's something I totally felt too. It's step one is not drinking. Step two is next navigating
yeah,
this new world that's
Which is what
always
we're
been
gonna
there,
jump
but
into.
now it's like, how do I do it not drinking, right? Because it's like I've still been to clubs and bars
Exactly.
and stuff, just because that's an obvious example of a place that you would normally drink.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, not drinking is a very different experience.
It's like really, it's kind of like, yeah, exactly. And I love how it goes into the steps essentially, because really, like that first part of when you're trying to get over that hurdle is kind of essentially the hardest part.
Becoming self-aware.
Yeah, that's the
realizing you
hardest
need
part,
help.
right?
Yeah.
And then once you have gone through that, you realize that it's like, now what am I? What's next? Like what's the next battle I have to fight?
Great you bring that up,
Right?
because on this episode we're going to be talking about step two. Is that
Hello.
a segue? Is that
Yep.
a good one?
I
Yeah,
love it. We
absolutely.
love it. We love
But
it.
before we get into step two, we got today's sponsor.
Ooh, hello.
Today's sponsor
We
is
love a good
Jameson
sponsor.
Whiskey. Jameson Whiskey, for when you just had a fight with your spouse and she kicked you out. It gives you that liquid courage to break back into your place at 4 a.m. to start that shit up again.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Some holes in the wall, maybe.
Beautiful.
Maybe.
Thank you, Jameson Whiskey.
Nobody got hurt.
That's right. Okay,
So,
so
bad to say that.
yeah. If everyone's ready, we can just jump into step two. So
Yeah.
first, what is step two of the AA program? Step two is that we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So we can sit with that sentence for a while. Obviously, it's written from, what was it, the 1930s? It was written from a time long past in middle America. It was a very Christian place. And AA holds
Christian.
firm to the concept that it is non-denominational. Me being a philosophical man, I might say, then why is there no mention of any polytheistic concept of a power greater than ourselves? So this one was very vague, it's very safe, but it's still fun to kind of pick away at that. At the same time, there's no... Dee and I will be expressing our opinions, of course, about these steps and our own personal takeaway from it. But we also don't want to try and alienate anybody. I'm a very open-minded individual, and I'm assuming you are too.
Oh yeah, so open.
So though we will have our own opinions about things, people are constantly changing. The only certainty in life is change. It's always happening, whether or not you want it. And when it comes to being open-minded, I'm always open to new ideas. This is just my current opinion about it. And obviously, if anyone disagrees with either of our opinions, please let us know.
We love
Reach
it.
out to us.
Sound off.
Yeah,
please.
let us know. Comment on the YouTube channel.
We
You
love
know,
it.
let us know on Instagram. However you want to get in contact with us. But yeah, so if anything, would you want to start? What's your takeaway from step two, or what do you feel like step two is to you?
Definitely what I was kind of just mentioning before, where it's really just getting that, I don't know, getting that hold of, yes, I know. Okay, so now I'm at the stage where it's like, you know what? I don't need a drink to like get by and all these things, but it's how do you handle the everyday life? That's the way for me. It's more of like, now I'm really coming back into who I was before I became an alcoholic, essentially.
But yeah, before the pattern started. I guess.
Yeah, that's where for me, it's that what that means. It's really getting a hold of yourself back, really putting your feet on the ground and just feeling the earth again. You know?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a power greater than ourselves could just be like the idea of ourselves from an outside perspective, if anything, right? Like realizing that you were once a different person and you want to try and regain that
Yep.
that semblance of control of your own life. Yeah. And
Yep.
yeah, I would say the same. There's tons of different ways to take this.
Very,
It's very poetic.
tons, yeah.
You know, to believe a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. That can mean your family, your friends, your community. Finding a way to understand that the world is bigger than you. That takes a lot, because what is alcoholism if not selfishness? You know, you're not, what you do with your life doesn't just affect you; it affects all of those around you. And
Correct.
as um, enjoyable as it is to maybe think that you don't have an effect in the world, or you wouldn't hurt anybody if you were to disappear, there's everybody.
Incorrect, yeah.
Even if you have no friends, even if your family is completely estranged to you, there's people on the street, there's everyday interactions you have an effect on this world.
Yes, no
And there
matter
will
what.
always be someone that misses you if anything were to happen. So it's always important to keep that in mind, that even though the world will keep turning, it doesn't mean that you don't have an effect. And it's important to understand and believe that this idea that there is a power greater than yourself that can help restore you to sanity, even if it's just the idea
Yeah.
of that you are a person in this world, and that it is important for you to get better. It can be as simple as that.
And that's the thing too. Like we as adults, or
Yeah.
maybe if you're
If you're
younger
12 and
than that
drinking,
and you're drinking,
yeah.
it's fine. But the world is putting a lot of pressures and things like this on us. So it's how
Yeah.
do you deal with that? That is what.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? And normally, what we would do as alcoholics is we would deal with that with drinking.
Yeah.
So how do you now deal with these things, your everyday things?
That you once drank to
Yeah.
get rid of. Yeah.
Because essentially, when you're first stopping drinking, the main goal is to, I don't need to drink. So every situation you're in, you just realize, I don't want to drink. 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 I don't drink. It just becomes all about not drinking.
Yeah.
But what do you do when it's like the first anniversary is gone, the second anniversary is gone, the third anniversary is gone, 4 years now you're not drinking? What really, you have to figure out why these things led you to do these things to begin with, right? And really try to reflect from there and now rebuild and grow yourself, essentially.
Yeah.
And sometimes, for me personally, we can put it in different forms. It could be a family member, it could be God, it could be a lover, it could be a
Yeah.
dog, it could be
A community
yourself.
in
Exactly. It could be
general, yeah.
anybody. But
Yeah.
know that there's always somebody there for you
Yeah.
to help you. And if not, find that inner strength deep down where in your, like for me, I a lot of the times felt like I didn't really have anybody. But when you really think back and you look at it, you're like, wow, I do have so many people. Because in your head, you're just going crazy.
Yeah.
It's that sanity part, right? You're really going crazy, but you think in yourself you're alone and you're by yourself. You get over these obstacles, you're strong. Like you get over those obstacles, you're strong. You're doing it. How can you look down on that, you know? And
Yeah, by merely trying, you have already accomplished the most difficult task. Especially because it might not just be the world at large or situations that cause people to drink. A lot of the time, it can be a form of self-destruction and self-hatred,
Yeah.
where they don't like themselves and they drink. And for those people, you would obviously say the same thing, that it's all about trying to find the power greater than yourself to try and help you push forward, especially if you don't like yourself, if only to realize that the reason you might not like yourself is you might have certain aspects that you don't agree with. But the mere fact that you can understand that even in a destructive form of I don't like myself, it means that there's that better version of you that's self-reflective enough to look at that and notice that it's
Exactly.
wrong and that you don't like that. So the next step is to just try as hard as you can to be able to overcome that.
for me, this
And
is,
even
makes so
if
much
you
sense,
fail,
yeah.
you keep trying.
That's
the fact
exactly
that you
how I
failed mean
felt.
that you were trying in the first place. So keep doing that. Yeah.
I felt like that completely. But going
Yeah.
like for this, the statement, that's what that relates to me completely. Like that's how I felt. I felt so alone. Like I felt like I'm only by myself to this. Sometimes people need help. Like there's AA and things like this where you can go and get help, right?
Yeah, you can find a
You
community.
can find help.
Yeah.
People that don't have help don't think that you're alone though. Know that there's still resources. Like for instance, I went online and I just looked up chat rooms and things like this, and I was talking to people just to vent and get it out. Because you need to talk to somebody. You need people there for you. Don't think that you're ever alone. You're never, ever, ever alone. And like Joe said, it could just be anyone really. It could be a friend, mom, dad, aunt, uncle.
Literally, like
Anyone.
it could be a coworker. It could
Yeah.
be like a teller at a bank that you always go to. Like
Yes.
anybody who is recognizable enough and has a semblance of sympathy, which
Yeah.
everybody has. It's like you can always find help if you look. It's a matter of looking. And it's a matter of trying. Even if you fail, even if you fall off the wagon, keep trying. The fact that you even tried in the first place is what you need to focus on, and then get back to it. It's like Yoda says, do or do not, there is no try. Wrong as fuck. Don't go to Star Wars for your philosophy lessons. No. But maybe he's right. Do or do not, there is no try. Then keep doing. Keep attempting. Instead, if the word try doesn't work, attempt.
So funny.
Keep attempting.
It's great, though.
Because
Yeah.
that's the point of life, is the fact that it's always changing. So even when the bad stuff happens, like what at the beginning was mentioning with like World War III is right around the corner, it's like, even though that may or may not be the case, it doesn't mean that you should stop trying to find the good in the world and to attempt to be a better person and give good to the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Take as much as you can, like out of
Yeah.
every single situation. And like, I think right now, it's for a lot of people, it's gonna feel a lot of pressure, especially at this time of the year, where it's just like,
it's and you know, especially in Canada, it's cold.
yeah,
So
there's no
seasonal affective
sun,
disorder
like, it's
can
just
hit you.
brutal. Yeah, it's really
And-
really hard.
Yeah, and it's just everyone's busy and everyone's kind of feeling the drudge of the holidays are over and now we're getting back to regular working life. You know, it's and it's the start of something new, but it happens to be in the middle of winter. It'd be nice if like the new year started in April. That's another thing that's arbitrary. The fact
That
that the
would be
year
fun.
starts in the middle of winter. It's like, why don't we start it like at the spring equinox? You know, that'd be
Oh
nice.
my goodness, yeah.
But,
Well, you know what? Winter hasn't been too bad for us in Canada right now.
Yeah,
It's-
not
it's
yet.
an
At least
occasion-
not in Southern Ontario.
Don't say anything, girl. I'm so scared. Like I'm not.
It's
I'm
coming.
Not a snow person.
Well,
I'm not a snow person.
Yeah. And I shouldn't mention anything too close to when we're recording because obviously anything could happen in the future. So
Still.
whenever this comes out, you know, it's like the snow will come when it comes. Since 2013, when we had the ice storm in Southern Ontario, I've been mentioning that it's coming.
2013.
Get ready, it's coming. In 2014 winter, I was like, oh no, we're gonna have another ice storm. Like, get ready, guys, global warming, and it just or climate change. And every year I kept saying that, nothing happened yet. So this might be the year because it's so warm now.
I remember that ice storm though. That
Yeah.
was like brutal.
That was
scary,
I
scary.
I took the year off to go to school,
Scary.
but I was working at Davy Tree at the time, and I literally come back and it was like they went through a war. They were like there was so much devastation, like of just trees that
Yeah.
got rained on and then froze and then fell onto power lines and shit. And it's like there's
Yeah.
so much work to be done. There's so much destruction, just natural
It
destruction.
happened recently too, not too long ago. Like not. It
No,
happened
it-
last year. Like not too like
What was that, like 2017?
Yeah, like 2017. I think it happened again in
Yeah.
2017. Yeah, 2017 it happened, but it was like a minor one. But it's still like trees were like breaking down and stuff. And
Spooky stuff.
it's just like, and it's just a
Wild.
really essentially you can find kind of.
You can find the good and bad in any
In anything,
scenario.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
that
can
could be
really-
exciting for some people because, like, I get the day off work.
Yeah,
There can always be good and
exactly.
bad versions of whatever.
Some people are like, "Oh my
scenarios
gosh, my
happen."
car's covered in ice," because I
like,
have to
"Oh,
go to
cool."
work and drive in this ice. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just like
it's
how
like,
you really
well, yeah, you
take
can't.
situations and how you want to essentially better yourself
Yeah.
for a better you, essentially, right? Like you want to better yourself for a better you. That's what the phrase is: better yourself to be a better you. But sometimes people don't really look at the you. The you. The
Aspect.
main thing is you. That's like the whole point of.
Well, yeah, I would say for some people that's the scariest thing. Is
Yeah.
to look inward. Because what if you don't like what you see? The mere idea, the imagination that we look into ourselves and see a monster is the scariest thing because there's no escaping yourself.
Oh yeah.
But it's silly how that's like the thing that people can be afraid of the most. Like, I'm going to be very forthcoming, audience, okay?
Love it.
In my life, I have taken psychedelics, and specifically mushrooms, and I've
Yeah, same. I have mushrooms too.
and like I think I've done it 5 times, and 3 or 4 out of the 5 times I had a bad trip, and for some reason it didn't put me off doing mushrooms. It's like the
Yeah,
first
no,
time I
love
did it,
mushrooms are great.
and because it's this vehicle for introspection.
Yeah,
it
you
literally
just
shuts
opens
everything
your-
else
yeah.
out, and you just look inward so much. And I just didn't like what I saw. And the funny thing is, I took shrooms like while a thing was happening in my household that was bad, and like I wasn't self-aware yet that I was an alcoholic, but I clearly was having a drinking problem that was developing. And I haven't done shrooms since, but I've done LSD since becoming sober.
How was
Well, I
that?
shouldn't say sober, dry, not
Oh,
drinking. And it was good. I did not have a bad experience at all. I had a
oh
great
yeah, I'd love to
experience.
try
So
that.
it's funny how I take this thing that's supposed to make you so self-aware and like it just showed me all the negative aspects of my life because I looked
Hmm.
inward and just saw all this bad. And yet I wasn't afraid necessarily. So I've never been afraid to look inward. And some people are really scared of what
Hmm.
they'll find, but it's like
I am.
literally
I'm
what's
not that. I'm like that. I'm very that like this
yeah.
whole word sanity is a great word in this phrase. Like
Yeah, yeah, to restore us to sanity. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, like it's just like what and it's like what defines that, you know what I mean? Is
Yeah.
so and this is the thing with alcohol. It's almost like what's the best way to put it? It's almost like it's a bad breakup. When you
Yeah.
break up with someone, you are left to sit back and reflect. And that is the worst part of the breakup because you
Yeah.
feel like what did I do? There's so
Yeah.
much
So much I could have done wrong, and you just
equals.
think of everything, all
Hmm.
these minor things that weren't even things that the other person could have thought of. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
You could equal what like literally the equal sign can equal so
anything.
many like the equation
Sky's
is
the
like
limit.
right.
Yeah, you waking up too early in the morning, you know, not saying the right thing at the right time. Yeah,
But everybody knows it's like there's that rule, right? Where it's like the breakup's over, give it 30 days to after, like, I don't know, it's like 2 months or 30 days or something like this.
yeah. I usually hear the rule is however long the relationship was, even though hopefully that's not true for people who were like married for 10 years.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can
That's
move
not
on
true.
earlier than 10 years, but that's usually the
Get
rule.
somewhat the idea, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, or at least a third the time or
It's
something.
like give yourself that time to really like start to think straight again. And then
Yeah,
once you start to think straight again, that's when it's like, okay, I might be like the sanity. That's like where you're bringing yourself back down to earth, right? You're really
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's step. It's like we're going on to literally step two, like
yeah.
step three, like hello.
Here we go. Let's get on to it. And speaking of step three, we are also going to mention step three of the AA program on this episode. And the only reason, so the other ones we won't do this, but the only reason we're doing it for this episode is because they're so similar.
Mm-hmm.
So let me read it out to you guys, and then we can talk about it.
We're ready.
Step three is to make a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him. And so that one clearly has close ties to we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So it's essentially step two is come to believe that there's a power greater that can help. And then step three is make the decision to turn your will over to that help.
Yeah.
So yeah, when it says God as we understand Him, that can mean a polytheistic,
Can mean
multiple
whatever
gods.
you want it to mean,
It
like we
can mean,
mentioned
yeah,
in the beginning. Like
metaphorical.
for me personally, it was honestly my dog for me. Like that my personal that was me that really I looked into the dog's eyes and was like, I have to change.
Yeah,
That's just like what brought it for me.
yeah,
Some people may literally go home at the end of the day and just sit down on their bed and just be like, God, what do they have to say to God?
pray,
That
self-reflect.
may be their, that may be their form of reflection.
Yeah.
It's just whatever you want that equal sign equals out to you.
Mm-hmm.
Take that in and really like change.
do what it takes.
Yeah, like-
yeah. It's interesting how it works. I've heard that for a lot of people who are suffering with like very chronic depression, like suicidal depression, that a lot of the times, yeah, like it can be an animal, their pet, where they go, oh, I'd kill myself, but who would take care of the dog? It's
little things like
it's funny
that,
how it works.
yeah.
Yeah, the smallest thing can be the biggest reason for continuing the effort
Yeah.
and continuing the journey of life, and that it's not, taking the easy way out is not the way to do it, or continuing the bad habit of drinking is not the way to do it. It's whether or not you actually experience catharsis to like that allowing yourself the ability to have the epiphany.
Epiphany is a
because
great word. Yep. Epiphany is a
that's
great word.
usually the one, the having a sudden realization. Like for me, I was self-aware for like the last year and a half or 2 years. So clearly being self-aware didn't work. It literally didn't work. It's like I was still drinking, even though I knew I was an alcoholic and needed to stop. I kept going. It wasn't until I had a an emotional breakdown, did it finally hit. Where it's
Yeah.
like, so it wasn't even an epiphany that did it. It was just the catharsis that like
Yeah.
finally broke the pattern, and I was just bawling my eyes out. And I was like, I need to stop. So it's different for everyone what finally kicks. But yeah, me turning my will over to the God of my understanding, the God of my understanding is no God at all, but the mere idea that, I'm not living in this world alone, and what I do does have the effect. So um,
Yeah,
and
great.
obviously I have a theory about why it specifically mentions this, because the God of your understanding, another word to say that is your personal God, as
Mm-hmm.
people in AA usually say a lot. They'll just say your personal God because then that can be whatever you want it to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's interesting how that works because the majority of the brain function that happens inside your head is subconscious, that you're not given privy of or aware of because there's so much processing that it would be way too distracting. So your brain limits your understanding to just the prefrontal core lobe, and that's like the you part. The personality part is just the front of the brain, and the majority of thoughts that are happening and like the dreams that you have and impulses that you have, they all come from your subconscious, and like tics that you have and fears that you have, these things that we have no control over. Turning our will over to the God of our understanding, to me, just sounds like allowing yourself the ability to just stop fighting your subconscious and just allow whatever core elements are in your brain to breathe and to have the light of day, and to just say to yourself or to say to God, I like I know that I'm messed up, and I want to try and be different, and I don't want to continue this habit. So how do I get out of it?
Mm-hmm.
And then like a version of that I might say is like it's the same thing that happens in boot camp for military service. The administrator or the leader of the boot camp will break you down emotionally and mentally until you are there subservient, and then you do everything they say, and it like teaches you discipline. It's like you got to do the same. You just got to let your subconscious like dom you, like the same as like what the God would do. It's like
Mm-hmm.
just literally give up your will to this other thing, and just understand that you are not in control and that this thing is, and
Yeah.
allow that passing of the torch to give you discipline in order to change your life for the better. and
Yes.
then and then that comes through, and then you're like, I'm not drinking anymore, even though I've clearly developed a habit for it. I'm going to stop because it's not even in my hands, so I'm just following orders. I'm just, it's out of my
Mm-hmm.
hands. I've given my will over to the God of my understanding, so now he's the one that's going to be like, no, you can't drink. And so, okay,
Yeah,
I'll do whatever
that's a
you
good way
say.
to put it. That's a good way to put it. Yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep, yep.
it's a
That's great.
it's a
I'm literally
psychological
like,
manipulation.
I'm like in it right now. I'm like,
You can
wow,
feel it. Yeah.
I'm in it. Yeah, true. Very, very true. Yeah, it's like you mentioned too. Like, you just gotta really find, like, whatever that God is. Find it, like, and
Find it, take it,
reflect.
use
Like,
it.
it's just like
Yeah.
it's so hard to like even say because it's at a point when you're going through this lifestyle. It's almost at a point where you're pretty much like, I don't want to say this like just loosely, but it's like you're pretty much dead almost. Like, you're what is the point, like, to the point where you're not valuing your life essentially, right? Because you're pretty much making a bad decision.
You're hurting yourself
Yeah,
constantly.
yeah,
Yeah, like you're damaging your liver, you're putting toxins in your body
yeah,
to an extreme amount, to the point of blackout or to the point of just complete lost inhibition. So it clearly shows a lack of respect, at least for your own physical body.
yeah. And that part alone for me was like a turning point too, where it's like, if I'm
Yeah,
able to,
understanding that.
if I'm drinking and I'm able to get behind a car and
Yeah.
my body is physically not telling me that's not okay, like that's wrong,
Yeah.
that means I don't value my life, let alone someone else's.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what deep down do you have to be doing that where you don't value your own life?
Yeah,
Figure
like,
that out.
isn't the whole point of drinking like a selfish act where, you're not stopping because nobody cares, and it's like, okay, so it's just all about you, and you're just doing it to escape, inside your own head. But then, yeah, once you start doing extremely self-destructive stuff, like for a lot of people, they'll like just get in fights with anybody at a
Yeah.
bar, and it's like, but you would never do that otherwise,
Yeah.
and you're picking a fight for no reason, and the other person maybe never even wanted to quarrel with you,
Yeah.
and so it's like,
wow.
yeah, clearly something's going on when you wake up with like a missing tooth or just with bruises and you don't know how you
Yeah,
got
you're
them.
like, what?
It's like it's not even selfish at this point because you're hurting yourself. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah. You gotta. Everybody has a different path, but everybody, in order to get better, you have to find that breaking point that can finally break the habit
Yeah.
and allow
Find
you to turn your life around, try and make it a different decision.
find that God, find that sanity.
Yeah.
Pull it together, right?
Yeah.
And like know that again, you may feel alone, but you're not alone. In any case, never.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be easy. That's the hard part. It's never going to be easy ever. Ever, ever, ever.
But a good tool is a semblance of humility. Like a lot of people sometimes don't ever like feeling that they're wrong, and that can be another kind of trigger or reason for them to keep going, is because they've locked themselves into a delusion that what they're doing isn't wrong, so why would they stop? So humility also goes a long way, or at least allowing yourself to potentially be judged, because that can be a scary thing for people. If you go to your loved ones and say, I think I have a problem,
Right.
and for them to be able to
Again.
accept that, or at least be like, okay, let me like
Yeah.
we'll help. We'll
Again,
help.
it's like
Let
a
me-
bad
let me
breakup.
help.
It's like a bad breakup you've been in for like years and years and years. It's like you're
Yeah.
going to your parent. Your significant other has met the parents, and they've met all your grandparents and all this jazz, and they've been together for all these years, and you're supposed to get married and all this, and then all of a sudden you
Yeah.
break up. But why did you break up? It just wasn't working.
Wasn't working.
It wasn't working. This person may have been toxic. Da, da, da. Like switch it with the alcohol, right? This is an alcohol is toxic. It just wasn't working well for me. Regardless, they're gonna support you because
Yeah.
you're doing the better decision for yourself, right?
Yeah, even if you have to take time off work, even if you have to do something that might jeopardize your reputation, like among colleagues or among friends,
Yeah.
which can be a big reason why people.
It's a big reason why people will continue to drink and not want to stop because
Yeah.
they feel the pressure from their friends. Like I agree with that 100%. My workplace was a big reason why I was drinking because of where I was working and the people I was around.
Yeah, it's almost like being on the tracks.
It's like it's like so interesting when you really really reflect into like the little things that can change a lot of things, like your surroundings and the way you think, and that sanity part is when you're drinking, that sanity part is very clouded. You don't see the sanity because you're going crazy essentially because you have issues that you need to figure out, but you can't figure them out because you have either this addiction or you have issues that are leading you to get to more of an addiction.
Yeah. Now, might I make a dad joke?
Yes, always.
Here we are in 2020. Best thing we could do for ourselves is have 2020 vision. You know what I'm saying?
I
Clarity.
almost drank something.
Yeah. Sorry. If I got you after that, that might have been bad. It's just exploded out. But no, it's 2020. Let's go into it with 2020 vision. Let's find that clarity.
Yeah.
Let's take a risk for our reputation's sake. Let's take a risk of the fear of looking inward. Let's just
Yep.
do it. Just bite the
why
bullet.
not?
Do what it takes. Yeah.
Why not? Like,
find
right?
find what you need. Take a moment of clarity. Self-reflect. It's one of the things that isn't necessarily taught to us in a Western culture that's all about movement and action.
Yeah.
It's given us the best society out of all other countries so far, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. Eastern culture, they have different philosophies, but one of them is self-reflection and meditation.
It's so good.
And taking the time to look inward really can save your life. It can, it can give you what you feel like you've been holding your breath waiting for years. And it's worth it. It's never not worth it
it's
to look
always
inward.
worth it. Yeah, it's always worth it because it's
Yeah.
just like this is the thing where don't like with the whole years and things like this. Like it's 2020, it's great,
Yeah.
but really like for a lot of people that they focus so much on just the fact of it's a resolution. Like think of it as like make it a resolution for yourself, but make it a resolution without the date. Like he said, 2020 vision, like go into
That's
it.
all you need.
Literally 2020 vision. Like go into it and do not think about just your vision only. Like don't let anybody else influence you. Don't let anybody else tell you this, tell you that. Like really set a goal for yourself and try to see it come true. That's like the hardest part where I like to put it like, okay, one day if you're building a castle, like if you keep putting bricks down, if you keep putting the bricks down each day, Eventually, you're gonna have a castle. But when you're first starting and you look at all the bricks, you're gonna like, this
And
ain't
you're
gonna be
just-
a castle. Like, I
Yeah,
have to make
exactly.
all
You're
this.
looking at the blueprint and you're
Yeah,
thinking
like,
about
what?
it, and
This is
yeah,
gonna work.
but you don't take the first step. It's never going to be built.
It's never gonna be built.
It's
It's
just
never,
going to
never
sit
gonna
there.
be built.
Yeah, exactly.
Until you put that one stone down, and then the next day you put the next one down, and then
Yeah.
eventually you have a wall, and then eventually you have a hallway, and then eventually you have a room,
Yeah.
and then eventually it's a castle with is it a moat? Is that what
knows?
things are when there's
It was
the-
surrounding it. Yeah.
Yeah, is that a moat?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you got a moat and everything. Like, geez, right? You just like you really are sitting in your own luxury after you've accomplished this
Yeah.
new self-reflection
Yeah.
into yourself, because it's like you're like in it's like a because like meditation is almost like you're just like in your own body, you're in your temple, you're in your own zone.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like you own a house, and that's your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people never go inside.
they never
They're always
go
just
inside.
hanging out outside. It's
drinking
like,
outside,
Bruh,
always.
yeah, it's like go into your house, take a look around,
That's
look
the
at what
thing.
you own.
You just want to sit outside and drink by the
You're
liquor
scared.
store.
You're scared that there's going to be a mess in there that
Go
you
to
have
other
to
people's
clean.
parties.
It's
Yeah,
like maybe there is a mess in your house. Maybe you got to clean it.
that's exactly what
Stop
it is.
procrastinating.
Yeah.
Go into your own house. If
Clean
shit's a
that.
mess, clean it. If it's not, then
Pay your
then
rent.
you were afraid for no reason.
Yep.
It could be great in there.
And we're all dealing with the same things. Like everybody is dealing with the same stuff. Everybody has a messy room. But then there's people that don't have a messy room. And do you know why they don't have a messy room? Because they just took the time to clean it.
Yeah.
Or maybe they may have paid somebody. But at the end of the day, it's clean.
Whatever
and
it takes.
yeah, it's like
Whatever
whatever
it takes to
it's
get it done.
right? Like
Because otherwise, it's just sitting there,
it's just sitting
festering,
there.
or accumulating, and that doesn't help anyone.
And like
Yeah.
you can start any day. Don't think that it has to start in and now. Like just start any day.
It doesn't have to be the right moment or the right time or like right after you finish whatever. It's like no.
Yeah, like start
if,
now.
if anything, just choose the worst time. It's one of those things where it's like, why do you care so much to continue a bad habit? That's the interesting thing, right? Because
Yeah.
it might ruin a relationship or the reputation that you've been holding on for yourself. Because that was a big thing for me, right? Or we both had this where we were, whatever the word is, when you can drink but still function, a functioning
it's like
alcoholic.
it's like
I was a functioning alcoholic.
Same.
To the point where there wasn't really any suspicion, even when I was like potentially like bringing it up when drinking. Nobody thought
Yeah,
there was any
same.
problem because they were like, you're good, like you're working, you're busy.
People don't see
Clearly
an
nothing's
issue
wrong
at
with you.
all. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really interesting because it's almost like it's a norm for people to be drinking. That's the thing.
Yeah, the
Right,
fact
so
that
you-
culturally it's like everybody, if there's a breakup, the person gets wasted for a week straight. It's like that shouldn't.
That's the call. That's what it's like. That's why the LCBO is open. It's like, why
Yeah.
does it make any sense that alcohol is one of the number one killers in the world, but then the LCBO is
still
like, why does it make
open
sense?
till
Then don't sell
10.
it.
Yeah,
Why are we just killing ourselves? Don't sell it. It's all about the money and it's all about
yeah,
selling
and owned by
something.
the government instead of.
Right? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
It doesn't make any
It's
sense.
interesting.
It's all just a trap, and like I remember how much money, like I said, I used to just spend on alcohol. Like think of it as like when we go to. I remember like when I first stopped drinking, I was still hanging around the same people. I would go
Yeah.
to the bar and get coffee because it was the only thing that you can get that late at night. Essentially, I'd
True.
always ask for like if they had pina coladas or strawberry daiquiris in virgin,
Yeah.
like the virgin ones.
Yeah.
Because usually they just have like a slushy machine and then they add the alcohol afterwards.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I would just ask, "Oh, do you have those?" They never ever had those anywhere. So I'm like, "Okay, I'll just have a coffee." Like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna have orange juice in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
But they're all laughing at me like, "Oh, Darren's getting a coffee." Da da da. But I was laughing when the bill came
Yeah. Yeah.
because my bill was $2.
Yeah.
Their bill was $80 something
That's insane.
because they had to go split shot. Everybody had to get rounds of shots, split it, and all this stuff. And then when the
Yeah.
bill came, the lady was there for so long.
It's
And
insane, man.
it's
That
like-
that was one thing where when I was in the depth of my alcoholism, I didn't go out. I would literally, my friends would be like, "Hey, you want to go drinking?" I'd be like, "No, I'm busy or I'm staying in
Just at
tonight."
home
And then
drinking?
I would be alone at home drinking because it's
Yeah,
such a money saver. And also, I suspected I wouldn't do anything that I would regret later if I was alone. And so it completely alienated me. And yeah, just on the money alone, it's like I spent so much money
The money
drinking
is just-
to the
oh
point
my
where I wouldn't
God.
go out to try and save money.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I would spend hundreds in one night. Yeah. So, if not for the money, if not for your physical health, if not for your social health, like all these other things, there's never not a reason to stop the habit.
yeah,
That's the thing.
Never.
There's so many excuses you can make, but there's never going to be enough. There's never enough things that you can say that would outweigh the reason to not drink. Even if World War III was happening next month, even if that was happening,
He
if
loves
all
the
the all the
World War
bombs
III.
are being dropped
He
and it's
loves
the end
it.
of the world, even if the end of the world was next week, that would not be a reason to start drinking again.
Yeah, no. It's just
doesn't
like,
matter.
It doesn't matter. It's just like so.
So then be
it's just
sober
so
and be
pointless.
fucked. You know, it's like
so-
just be sober and be fucked.
because like literally, I'm thinking in my head like if I were to continue to drink, well, I can't. No matter what, I wouldn't have been able to because like for me,
No.
some people, I don't know how people are able to do this. They're able to drink and just like not get into like things. They
Trouble.
just
Yeah.
drink and like it's just like a normal thing. Like for me, that's not the case. It's just
Got to
like,
be binge drink.
it has to
Yeah.
binge and like get like hammered and like to the point where it's like now he's like scaring me a little bit. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
Yeah.
but where was I even gonna go with this? I forget now.
Well, just the element of like, even if it's the end of the world, you find a reason to drink. But like for me, it's one of those things where you can disappear in alcohol, and that's usually the reason why most people do is escapism. But it's like the ugliness of the world is still there, so you didn't get rid of it. You temporarily covered your eyes, right? But you can't do that forever unless you drink yourself to death. Then you're gone forever. So the better idea that's more sustainable is to find other ways to cope. If you're scared of meditation, looking inward, then there's video games, movies, like there's so many other things you can do aside
Yeah.
from drinking that can give you a form of escapism, right? Like it's just interesting. It's almost the same reason where it's like I'm almost dealing with it right now is like I don't really like working out. There's some people that love it, and it's like I wish I loved it. I don't. I'll always find an excuse to get out of it, but
Yeah.
I can't escape the fact that physical fitness is an important part of life, and you have to do it if you want to be at your best mentally and physically. It's
You
not
gotta
just
get
physically.
everything
It's like if you
flowing.
want to stay sharp.
Yeah.
If you do nothing, if you're a couch potato, you start to feel it. It like zombifies your brain.
Yeah.
So it's like the
That
same
actually
thing with,
makes me remember what I was gonna mention. Is just like
Yeah.
in life, like you are spending all this time, effort, and money, especially money. That's the main thing. Is you're spending money on things that isn't really anything sustainable and to make you happy, and that's why you find yourself probably not so happy after you've drinking so much and you've
Yeah.
wasted all this money and you're trying to find ways. Because like I would drink and then go home and drink.
Yeah, same.
So like it wasn't I was still trying to save money, but like I would just think of it as I have now alcohol at home. Now I don't have to go out and drink tonight at the bar. But if I was already out and friends were like, "Hey, let's go to the bar," I'm gonna go. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like, and
yeah.
this is still. It's just any way you could figure out to drink, you will. But once I stopped drinking, I really found myself with a lot of extra money. Where I'm like, I just have money kind of piling up. Where it feels good to have money in the bank and just safe and like sit back and have some good amount of like cash to sit on. Where to the point where as I'm going with my depression and dealing with the alcoholism, my dog dies, and I'm like, this is the thing that really helped me change. And I was like, you know what? I quit. And I wouldn't be able to have done that if I didn't literally focus and realize, hey, I don't want to drink anymore. Because I was able to set a goal and just say, hey, let me save my money now. That was my goal. That's what literally got me through
That was
the
your reason.
first year was
Yeah, yeah.
looking at the dog and just being like, wow, I've messed up. I've looked at my go back to episode 1, guys, if you want to reflect on the intro. But essentially, I look at my bank account and it's like, whoa, I've spent a lot of money week after week after week on alcohol.
Yeah, you've worked all this time.
Yeah,
and there's nothing to
there's
show
nothing
for
to
it.
show for it. Like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this? It doesn't make any sense. So why don't I just downgrade everything and just really like focus on what makes me happy?
Yeah.
That's the main part. And it was not being in an environment where people are a certain way and act a certain. This is my personal preference. Everybody's equal is going to be different.
Yeah.
But essentially, I wouldn't have been able to just say one day, you know what, I was managing a restaurant, and it's not just one day you can just say you quit. It's like that's what I did. I just literally one day said I quit. It's not about the money for me.
Yeah.
I literally had no job for
Yeah.
months, but I couldn't sit back on that no job if I didn't really focus and take the time to like meditate and like find that sanity in myself where it's like, what can I do to now really just find my inner happiness? And
Yeah.
for me, it's freedom. That's what I had learned. I'm still learning. Always, I'm still learning. No matter
Mm-hmm.
what, this journey is never going to end. Every day is a battle.
Yeah.
But for me, it's freedom. That was my main reason. I found that sanity. I look back on it. I'm going to work every day, and it's just I'm stressed out, and I'm going home drinking all the time. Why? It's that freedom.
Yeah.
Now that I have the freedom to do what I want, my bills are paid. Wants. Everybody's stressed out from Christmas.
Yeah, and even if you don't necessarily start making a lot of money, even if you're still broke, you still at least have that freedom of like,
Yeah,
well, at least I'm not
happy.
in
That's
debt
it. It doesn't
or
matter.
like losing more
Exactly.
money.
It's like I don't even care about anything. It's like I'm happy. The
still
feeling of
have
being
that freedom.
happy is like so
Yeah.
much better than being intoxicated.
Yeah.
And being in debt and like worrying about what I did the night before and things like that. It's like you think that's a fun life, but it's like it gets tiring and it gets old very fast.
Yeah, because the whole sustainability thing, it's going to end eventually. It's now just up to you on if it's going to end with your death, if it's going to end with you accidentally killing another person, if it ends with you like on the street, like not being able to afford alcohol because you're homeless because you've lost everything, or if it ends with an intervention, or if it ends with a catharsis where you finally realize, or if it ends with whatever, right? It's like it is, no matter what, it's not sustainable. It's like, sure, life isn't sustainable either. One day we're all gonna die, but do you, it's like, obviously, do you want to go
Like Joe says,
waste
like
it, or?
it's like exercise and do these things to sustain it as long as possible and live the most
And also have the best
yeah,
experience.
the best experience and the most like enjoyable experience is what I was essentially going to say. But yeah, have
Yeah.
the best experience essentially in life. You want to be able to enjoy life as best as you can.
Yeah,
So
'cause you only
why,
got the
yeah,
one
like
shot at
why
it,
would you
like-
want to go through life just being essentially in a relationship with something that doesn't love you back and isn't
Yeah.
bringing anything back to you? And that's why I like kind of use the relationship references, because it's not bringing. It's like being in a toxic relationship. It's not doing any justice to you, but you think. It's in your mind.
it
It's
is.
you think it's, oh, I love it. But this it makes me better here, and oh, we cuddle at night and this time. No. It's like, yeah, everybody has those feelings, but it's like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
There's no escaping the fact that it doesn't work. It's toxic. It's gonna end eventually. So it's
Yeah.
just up to you on how it happens. Is it gonna end with your death, or is it gonna end with you stopping?
And figuring it out, like figure it
Yeah.
out. It's really hard too, but you have to like. My one thing for me, advice, going into 2020, if we're going just with 2020 goals, is really, instead of saying it, I think a lot of times people are saying things, and that's why they don't happen. I
Yeah.
prefer to action. I'm a person of actions speak louder than words.
Talk is cheap.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I always, this is why, like we sit down, we talk, and we write things down about what we're gonna chat about and things like this. Like,
Yeah.
not everybody does things like this. Like, people just you can half ask something. You can just, it's how you want to take it and how you want to live your life. But for me, I like to specifically set a goal and see the goal come through. And the only way to do that is put the bricks down each day, and that is by action.
Yeah.
And for me, even if the action is just something where it's writing on a piece of paper to
Yeah, even if
see
it's
it
tiny.
every day,
Yeah.
so that you remember, hey, you know what? I did make this goal of I have to eat a mango once a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to eat a mango once a week, but if
long
you're
as you do
saying
it.
that, oh, I have to eat a mango once a week, and then the 1 week goes by and you don't eat the mango, oh, I need the mango. And you're not seeing it visually. This is just for me, but if I'm not seeing it visually, then why would I continue on?
Then
Like,
stop
if I don't
doing
see
it.
the bricks there, if I don't see the bricks, why am I building the castle?
Yeah.
If every day I'm waking up, the bricks are in my bed, every day the bricks are in my bed, it's like, I'm obviously eventually going to want to start building this castle. Like, get these bricks out of my bed.
Yeah.
Use whatever you can in your surroundings for whatever that equal equation is, so that you can equal success.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Amazing.
Straight up.
Yeah. And on it, that's a great way to end an episode too, I think.
I love it.
There's only one thing I thought of while we were doing this episode, and this isn't sustainable, but I'd love to recommend a movie or two for the audience.
Love recommendation.
2 films. They're both fun films. One of them is a sequel.
Ooh.
So the first film I'm going to recommend is Limo Driver. It has an actor that many people have said I look like, Patrick Wilson.
Okay.
He's in a lot of horror
Drivers.
movies, but this one's kind of like an action comedy, and he's a recovering alcoholic, and gambling addict and coke addict. So he has a lot going on. But
Never seen it.
the film is about. I'll give you the premise that way it doesn't spoil it.
Okay,
Obviously,
yeah, 'cause
he's
I
a
haven't
limo
seen it.
driver,
Okay.
but he has all these problems, and he gets in a car accident, and then the person he gets in a car accident with is this girl, and then the two of them get together, and then he quits all of the things to be with her, and then she breaks up with him. But instead of him drinking again, now that he's alone, he just stays clean. And then that's like how the movie starts, is like with them broken up. It's like a montage of all that stuff happening.
Wow.
And so the rest of the movie is like there's all these moments where he could fall back into it, but he doesn't. And so it's just one of those. It's such a
that's
small
literally
thing.
like a synergy of what we're talking about. Like,
Yeah, where it's like
wow.
even all like the whole movie, all the shit's happening to him that's just like terrible, and he just doesn't drink and doesn't get back into
Because
drugs
like
and gambling.
yeah, like think if it just really think about a challenge.
just
it's
stop
a
and then
challenge.
stay
Like,
with
isn't
it.
that so fun to have? Like
It's good
for
to
us,
have-
like
to have
every day
integrity.
we're like
we don't drink. It's like we just
We
accomplished
won
another
every
goal.
day.
Every
We
day
won.
we're winning.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's one thing when you wake up. It's
Boom.
like literally you just committed to something. Like how amazing is that? It's inspiring. Like it's just so like it gives me enough energy just to be like,
To
you know
get
what?
going.
I quit.
to get the action. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what I
I
said.
quit.
I
I'm
was
gonna
like,
keep
quit, I'm
quitting
gonna
every
quit. I
single
said,
day.
yeah.
You quit.
I quit. I'm like, oh, done.
Yeah.
So once you know that, like that, you know your worth. You just learn every day. And then now I'm saying I quit, and now I'm knowing like each day I'm learning that sanity. What's really bringing me back to me, to Darren again? Like,
Yeah.
how is he gonna be his best self? There's always gonna be mistakes. You're always gonna one day you're gonna be mad at what the Scotiabank lady or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
This didn't happen, but I'm just saying, like in general.
An example. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or you're gonna go argue with somebody at the car wash, or you know, you get into trouble with your best friend or something, and now you guys aren't talking for weeks. Time will go by, things will happen. The world's gonna throw things at you.
Yeah. And it
But
doesn't stop.
it
keeps
doesn't
going.
stop, but it's how you take
all
them
a matter
on,
of
yeah.
reaction. Yeah. Now the second film recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
This one's the sequel. The first movie is called The Shining. So
Okay.
pretty well known. Everyone knows
Yes,
The
I've seen
Shining.
The Shining.
Yeah. So its sequel just came out in 2019. It's called Doctor Sleep. And,
Okay, yeah,
and
I heard
its
of
its
this.
book is a direct sequel, so it's not like just a movie that they made. It's like it is based on the book.
Okay,
That's a
cool.
sequel to The Shining.
have
And
heard
the
of
main
this.
character is he starts out like in the heap of being an alcoholic, and then like a quarter of the way through he becomes clean, and then he stays clean, and there's like tons of challenges throughout where like near the end it's like near a breaking point, but he chooses not to drink, and he stays strong to the conviction of like, even if life is fucking killing me, I
Yeah.
still won't drink. Like it doesn't matter
So
how bad
empowering.
things get. There's
So
never a
empowering.
reason to start again.
Especially when it's something that's like it has such a hold on you, right?
It's
It's
like
insane.
a spell.
It's
It
like-
it's has such a strong.
Remember we were mentioning about the vampires? I was saying that's why I feel like I'm a vampire. I feel like it's almost
Yeah.
like a vampire that can't feed off of human blood. So I just think of it
Yeah.
like the blood is like alcohol. Like I can't just go rip somebody's neck off. Like that
Because
that's
then it won't
that'll get
stop.
me in trouble. That'll get me in trouble. So if I go
Yeah.
and drink, then I will literally go crazy and then get behind a car, and that's not good. You cannot
No.
do that. So therefore, you can't drink the blood.
Yeah.
You have to
It's-
find
it's
other
just not an
means of
option.
living. Yeah, you have to
It's
find
just-
other means.
Yeah. You have to be able to compartmentalize where it's like it's just not an option. It's not even. It doesn't matter how bad things get. That's never an option.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to completely take it off the table of possibility.
You're not the same as everyone else.
Yeah.
You have
We're
something
different
that's
people.
a little different, and like I said, it may be just whatever that equation might be. It may be the way you're brought up. It may be like for me, I think it's literally hereditary for me. Like it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
but you just never know. Like you never know. Sometimes you could just be brought up around drinking, and it's just that's the norm.
That's just what it
You
is.
know, it's
Yeah.
like it could be anything, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to make that choice and you to really turn that situation around. 2020, here we come,
Here we come. Get ready.
right? Like.
But yeah, so it's a good way to end it. I'd like
Yeah,
to think
I love
on the
that.
2020 vision.
Yeah,
So
guys,
this was
I
episode
love it.
2, everybody. If you
Yeah.
want to reach out to us, obviously the podcast
Yes.
have its own Instagram and YouTube.
Yes.
But our contacts, I am at thejovan.com, and I have my website,
I'm
which
at
is thejovan.com.
Magic Cat Mentors.
Magic Cat Mentors. Yeah.
Yes, that's it for me.
Beautiful.
I like to keep it short and simple.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. So until next time, we'll be seeing you guys.
Yeah,
And have
take
a
it
good one.
easy, guys.